What happens when one of daytime television's most respected hosts faces off against royalty turned Hollywood celebrity in a battle of words that nobody saw coming? It only took one comment about privilege to turn a simple interview into the most explosive moment in talk show history. The studio audience had no idea what they were about to witness. The View's stage was set like any other Tuesday morning. Coffee mugs lined the iconic table. The cameras were ready. Whoopi Goldberg sat in her usual seat, prepared for what she thought would be a straightforward conversation. Then Meghan Markle walked onto that stage. The applause was warm at first. Meghan smiled and waved, settling into the guest chair with the kind of confidence that comes from years in the spotlight. Whoopi opened with a simple question, the kind that should have led to an easy answer. "Welcome to The View. We're so glad to have you here. Let's start with something everyone wants to know. How are you adjusting to life back in California?" Meghan's smile tightened, just slightly. "Well, Whoopi, I think the better question is, why should I have to adjust at all? I'm home. This is where I belong, not in some archaic institution that refuses to change with the times." The other hosts exchanged glances. This wasn't the friendly opener anyone expected. Whoopi, ever the professional, nodded thoughtfully. "I hear you. Change can be difficult, especially in traditional spaces. But you knew what you were getting into, right? The royal family has been around for over 1,000 years. "Exactly my point," Meghan interrupted, leaning forward. 1,000 years of outdated thinking. 1,000 years of refusing to see people as they really are. I walked into that situation thinking I could make a difference, thinking they would embrace fresh perspectives. Instead, I was met with resistance at every turn." Whoopi raised an eyebrow. "Resistance or just different ways of doing things?" "I've been in this industry for decades, and I've learned that sometimes you have to work within the system to change it." "That's easy for you to say," Meghan shot back. The audience went quiet. "You've been able to build your career on your own terms. You haven't had to deal with the kind of scrutiny I faced every single day." The temperature in the studio shifted. Whoopi set down her coffee mug with deliberate slowness. "Easy for me to say?" Her voice remained calm, but there was steel underneath. "Meghan, I broke barriers in this industry when doors weren't just closed. They were locked and bolted. I've faced scrutiny you can't even imagine. The difference is I didn't expect the world to change overnight just because I showed up." Meghan's face flushed. "That's not fair. My experience is valid." "Your experience is absolutely valid," Whoopi agreed. "But so is everyone else's. You're not the first person to face challenges, and you won't be the last. What matters is how you handle it." "How I handle it?" Meghan's voice rose. "I handled it by removing myself from a toxic situation. I chose my mental health and my family over people who never wanted me there in the first place." One of the other hosts tried to jump in, but Whoopi held up a hand. "No one is questioning your right to make that choice. But you've been on quite a tour lately, talking about how difficult everything was. At some point, people start to wonder if you're looking for understanding or just sympathy." The audience gasped. Meghan's jaw dropped. "Excuse me? Are you seriously suggesting that I'm making this up for attention?" "I'm suggesting," Whoopi said carefully, "that life is hard for everyone. Yes, you faced unique challenges, but you also had resources and opportunities that most people can't even dream about. A little perspective goes a long way." Meghan stood up abruptly, her microphone nearly falling off her lapel. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. Nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to acknowledge what I went through. That you're all so caught up in your own narratives that you can't see the truth when it's right in front of you." Whoopi remained seated, her expression unchanged. "The truth is, you married into one of the most famous families in the world. The truth is, you had a platform bigger than most people could ever imagine. The truth is, you made choices. And choices have consequences, good and bad." "You don't know anything about my choices," Meghan snapped. You sit here in your comfortable chair, in your comfortable studio, judging people you don't even know. How dare you minimize what I've been through? I'm not minimizing anything, Whoopi replied, her voice steady. I'm simply saying that everyone has struggles. The difference is most people don't have the luxury of international platforms to air those struggles. Most people just have to get up and keep going. Meghan grabbed her purse from beside the chair. I don't have to listen to this. I came here thinking we could have an honest conversation, but clearly you've already made up your mind about who I am. I haven't made up my mind about anything, Whoopi said. I'm asking questions. That's what we do here. That's what journalists do. If you can't handle questions, maybe the problem isn't everyone else. The audience sat in stunned silence. Meghan's hands were shaking. You know what? This is bullying. This is exactly the kind of treatment I was trying to escape. You're ganging up on me, putting words in my mouth, making me out to be some kind of villain, when all I've ever done is try to be authentic. Another host attempted to moderate. Meghan, I don't think anyone here is trying to bully you. We're just having a discussion. A discussion? Meghan whirled around. This isn't a discussion. This is an ambush. You invited me here under false pretenses. Whoopi shook her head slowly. We invited you here to talk. You're the one who came in defensive. You're the one who turned a simple question about California into an attack on everything and everyone. Because you wouldn't understand, Meghan insisted. None of you would understand what it's like to have the entire world pick apart everything you do, everything you say, everything you wear. Whoopi let out a long breath. Meghan, I've been black in Hollywood since before you were born. I've been a woman in comedy when women weren't supposed to be funny. I've been heavy in an industry obsessed with thin. I've been outspoken when I was supposed to be quiet. So when you tell me I don't understand scrutiny, I have to respectfully disagree. The words hung in the air. Meghan's face went through several emotions at once. Anger, embarrassment, defiance. That's different, she finally said. How? Whoopi asked simply. How is it different? Because you chose this life. I was thrust into it. I fell in love and suddenly I was public property. I didn't ask for any of it. Whoopi leaned back in her chair. You didn't ask to fall in love with a prince, one of the most photographed, most followed, most public figures on the planet. You had no idea that might come with attention. I thought love would be enough, Meghan said, her voice cracking slightly. I thought if we loved each other, we could handle anything. For a moment, Whoopi's expression softened. Love is important. Love matters. But love doesn't exempt you from reality. And the reality is, you had choices every step of the way. You chose to date him. You chose to marry him. You chose to step back. Those were all your choices, and you have to own them. I do own them, Meghan protested. But that doesn't mean I have to sit here and let you make me feel small for making them. Nobody is trying to make you feel small, Whoopi said. But you came on this show talking about how hard your life has been. And yes, it's been hard. Nobody is denying that. But hard doesn't mean you're a victim. Hard doesn't mean everyone else is wrong. Hard just means hard. Meghan's eyes filled with tears, but her voice remained sharp. You're twisting everything I say. This is impossible. What's impossible, Whoopi countered, is having a conversation with someone who thinks any pushback is an attack. We're not your enemies here. We're just people asking you to think beyond your own experience. I think plenty beyond my own experience, Meghan fired back. I think about all the people who supported me. I think about all the people who see themselves in my story. I think about making the world better for my children. That's admirable, Whoopi said. Truly. But making the world better means accepting that sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you're not the hero of the story. Meghan's mouth fell open. Are you calling me a villain? I'm not calling you anything, Whoopi said firmly. I'm saying that life isn't a fairy tale. You're not a princess who needs rescuing. You're a grown woman who made grown decisions. Own them without needing everyone to feel sorry for you. The studio was so quiet you could hear the cameras whirring. Meghan stood there, microphone dangling, purse clutched to her chest. "I thought you of all people would understand," she said quietly, but the microphones picked it up perfectly. "I do understand," Whoopi replied. "I understand that real strength isn't about telling everyone how hard you have it. Real strength is about getting through it without needing applause." Meghan's face went red. "That's so condescending. You have no right to lecture me about strength. You have no idea what I've survived." "You're right," Whoopi agreed. "I don't know everything you've been through, but you don't know everything I've been through either. Or what anyone in this audience has been through. Everyone has a story. Everyone has pain. You're not special in that regard." "I never said I was special," Meghan protested, her voice rising again. "You didn't have to say it," Whoopi observed. "It's in every interview you give. It's in every statement you release. This idea that your suffering matters more than anyone else's." "That's not true," Meghan said, but her voice wavered. "Then prove it," Whoopi challenged. "Sit down. Have an actual conversation. Listen as much as you talk. Accept that people can disagree with you without hating you." Meghan looked at the empty chair, then back at Whoopi, then at the cameras, then at the audience. Her internal struggle played out on her face. "No," she said finally. "No, I won't sit here and be disrespected like this. I won't let you paint me as some entitled brat who doesn't appreciate what she has. You don't get to do that." "Nobody is painting you as anything," Whoopi said, spreading her hands. "You're painting yourself. Every time you deflect, every time you play the victim, every time you refuse to see another perspective, you paint yourself into a corner." "This is unbelievable," Meghan said, shaking her head. "You invited me here to tear me down, to make yourself look good at my expense." One of the other hosts finally spoke up. "Meghan, that's not what's happening here at all." "Then what is happening?" Meghan demanded, spinning to face her. "Because from where I'm standing, I came here in good faith, and I'm being attacked from all sides." Whoopi sighed deeply. "You came here with your guard up. You came here ready for a fight. And when we didn't give you the fight you expected, you created one. That's not on us. That's on you." Meghan's hands clenched around her purse straps. "You're impossible. All of you. This whole thing is impossible." "What's impossible?" Whoopi said, her patience clearly wearing thin. "Is trying to have an honest discussion with someone who only wants to hear agreement. You want validation, not conversation, and that's fine. But don't pretend you want a dialogue when you really just wanted an echo chamber." "An echo chamber?" Meghan's voice reached a new pitch. "I've faced more criticism than anyone should have to face. I don't need an echo chamber. I need people to actually listen." "We are listening," Whoopi insisted. "You're just not liking what you're hearing. There's a difference." Meghan's eyes darted around the studio, looking for support, for understanding, for anything that would validate her position. The audience stared back in silence. The other hosts looked uncomfortable. The cameras kept rolling. "I'm done," Meghan announced suddenly. "I'm done with this conversation. I'm done with this show. I'm done with people who refuse to see the truth." "The truth according to you," Whoopi clarified. "The truth according to reality," Meghan shot back. "But clearly, you're all too invested in your own narratives to see it." She started moving toward the edge of the stage, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. Whoopi called after her. "Meghan, running away doesn't make you right. It just makes you gone." Meghan paused, turned back one last time. "You know what, Whoopi? Maybe being gone is better than being here with people who are determined to misunderstand me. Maybe walking away from toxicity is exactly the right choice. I've done it before, and I'll do it again." "Then go," Whoopi said simply. "But don't expect a parade for it." The final blow landed. Meghan's face crumpled for just a second before she regained composure. Without another word, she yanked off her microphone, letting it fall to the floor with a harsh thud that echoed through the studio speakers. She walked off the stage, past the stunned crew members, past the shocked audience, and straight out the studio door. The door slammed. The sound reverberated through the space. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Whoopi sat in her chair, looking at the empty seat across from her, then at the microphone lying abandoned on the floor. She picked up her coffee mug, took a slow sip, and looked directly into the camera. "Well," she said, her voice carrying the weight of decades in the business, "I guess some people just can't handle the view." The audience erupted. Some applauded. Some gasped. Some just sat there trying to process what they had witnessed. The other hosts looked at each other, unsure whether to laugh or cry or just move on to the next segment. Behind the scenes, production assistants scrambled. Was she coming back? Should they cut to commercial? What were they supposed to do with the rest of the show? But Whoopi remained calm, unfazed, a veteran of live television who had seen it all and then some. One of the hosts finally broke the silence on set. Should we talk about what just happened?" Whoopi set down her mug again. "What's there to talk about? We asked questions. She didn't like them. She left. End of story." But it wasn't the end of the story. Not really. In those 36 seconds between Meghan's final words and the door slamming shut, something shifted. The audience had witnessed a masterclass in composure from Whoopi and a masterclass in self-sabotage from Meghan. They had watched someone with real power and presence face off against someone who thought hurt feelings equaled moral authority. The cameras captured every second, every facial expression, every sharp word, every uncomfortable pause. This wasn't scripted drama. This was raw, real, and absolutely riveting. Whoopi glanced at the empty chair one more time. "You know what the real tragedy is?" she said, almost to herself, but into a live microphone. She had a chance to connect, to really talk, to share her side in a way that might have helped people understand. But she was so busy being defensive that she forgot to be human. Another host nodded slowly. "It's hard to have a conversation when you're convinced everyone is against you." "Exactly," Whoopi agreed. "And that's the problem. She sees enemies everywhere, even when we're just trying to talk." The audience member in the front row raised her hand tentatively. Whoopi noticed. "Yes, honey, what is it?" "Do you think she'll come back?" the woman asked. Whoopi laughed, but it wasn't mean. It was knowing. "I don't think she can come back. Not after that. She made her choice." And that was the truth of it. In less than half an hour, what should have been a simple interview about life changes and future plans had devolved into a battle of wills. One side fighting to be heard, the other side insisting they were already listening. Both sides convinced they were right, but only one side walked away. Only one side slammed the door. Only one side let emotion override everything else. And in doing so, only one side proved every single point the other had been trying to make. Whoopi turned back to the main camera, her expression settling into something between amusement and resignation. "We'll be right back after this break, and maybe, just maybe, our next guest will actually want to have a conversation." The audience laughed, releasing the tension that had built up over the past several minutes. The lights dimmed slightly as they cut to commercial, but everyone in that studio knew they had just witnessed something extraordinary, something that would be talked about for years. It's something that couldn't be unseen or unheard, because sometimes the most dramatic moments aren't planned. Sometimes they just happen when two strong personalities collide, and neither one is willing to back down. Except in this case, one did back down. One did walk away, and in walking away, proved every point about strength, resilience, and grace under pressure that the other had been making all along. The door Meghan slammed remained closed. The microphone she dropped remained on the floor. And Whoopi remained in her seat, steady as always, ready to continue the show, because that's what professionals do. They show up. They do their job. They don't run when things get difficult. As the commercial break ended and the cameras came back on, Whoopi smiled at the audience with genuine warmth. Welcome back to The View, where we promise you'll always get honesty, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. The audience cheered, because they knew they had just seen honesty in its rawest form. They had seen what happens when someone demands respect, but refuses to give it. What happens when someone wants understanding, but won't try to understand? What happens when privilege meets reality and can't handle the collision? The empty chair sat there as a reminder, a symbol, a testament to what happens when you're not ready to face the view from someone else's perspective, when you only want to see things your way and your way alone. And Whoopi, sitting across from that empty chair, represented something else entirely. Experience, wisdom, the kind of strength that doesn't need to announce itself, the kind of grace that doesn't need validation, the kind of truth that stands on its own, whether anyone likes it or not.